I'm already tired of talking about this pack and I haven't even started. This is The Sims 4 My First Pet Stuff, and it is unbelievably the 14th stuff pack to The Sims 4. 14th! It costs $10 and lets you play with virtual rodents. Yep. So I find at this point it's probably a good idea to reiterate that I actually do like The Sims as a series. I'm not making videos criticizing it because I hate it, but because I truly want to see it become better and better. That being said, this is not the day that happens, because what we've got is The Sims 4 My First Pet Stuff, and it's the single stupidest pack for The Sims 4 thus far. What I mean by that is this is the first time that a stuff pack requires you to have bought a previous pack in order to fully utilize it. Seriously, an expansion for an expansion. This means that unless you've already bought and installed the $40 Cats and Dogs expansion pack, you do not get to use everything in the $10 First Pet Stuff pack that you just bought. I can hear Ralph suddenly bursting into flame already. Well, that was dramatic. But okay, before I get too far ahead of myself, let's take a look at what you actually get here. And well, this is more complicated than usual because what you get is determined by whether or not you have the Cats and Dogs pack, but I'm gonna do my best. Pretty much, if something you see in here applies to either a cat or a dog, you won't be able to use it unless you have the expansion to go along with it. So you pay for all these cat and dog outfits regardless of whether or not you have the actual cats and dogs. Isn't that fun? And that's notable because the majority of the new clothing here is only for cats and dogs. There are only a few items for your humanoid Sims. So you get a few hairstyles for adults, a single shirt and a hamster outfit, a single shirt and a onesie for kids, and a hat, a shirt, and a onesie for toddlers. That's it. Oh, and pretty much all of these are recolors and slight alterations of things that were already added to the game previously. Granted, this is nothing shocking considering how often it's happened before in The Sims 4, but it's just a little bit of extra salt in the wound that I find amusingly disheartening. Same goes with the build mode objects, like these desks and chairs and things that fit perfectly with the design and color swatches of the items that were included in Cats and Dogs. Gee, what a coincidence! Almost like they were made for that pack to begin with! Suspiciously shared design language or not, you get a grand total of 35 objects in this pack, starting with 2 couches and 2 chairs, one of which kind of looks like a hamster swallowed an ottoman. You also get 2 cat-inspired lamps, a bookcase, a small hamster toy, and a few wall decorations. A round end table and an aquarium coffee table, the latter of which looks cooler than it actually is, since you can't customize the fish or interact with it in any way. Speaking of cooler than it looks, I thought these hamster habitat tubes might let your rodents wander all over the walls through custom pathways or something, but nope, they're just flat decals. Then you get 3 window shades, 2 pet doors, a flattened rodent rug, a tree stump feeding bowl, another pet toy box, another litter box, and another set of cat condos. There are also 2 pet beds, which is fine, but I really thought this would have been a good opportunity to include some dog houses, but nah, guess not. And yeah, if you've noted, a good chunk of this stuff will only be useful to you if you have cats and dogs. So if you don't own that, then a lot of this stuff just acts as a constant teaser to buy more content so you don't feel left out, and I assume that's the point. And finally, you get 4 rodent homes with this pack regardless of what you owned previously. How generous! Each one comes in the same cage and can do the same things, but aesthetically they do differ, giving you the choice of a hamster, a hedgehog, a rat, and a bubbalus. Babalus? I don't know that. The little purple void critter thing. Anyway, these are all way simpler to care for and don't take up a family slot like cats and dogs do, and all you're really responsible for with them is giving them a little food, attention, and cleaning every so often, and that's it. They're quite self-sufficient and just hang around doing rodent things like eating, sleeping, taking sand baths, and running around wheels because you gotta go fast. Younger Sims can choose to study them as well in order to take care of their homework for the day, and most anyone can give them treats, talk to them, or take them out to play for a second. Granted, you cannot actually choose individual play interactions or take them out of the cage beyond anywhere right in front of the door, but these interactions do improve your relationship with each rodent. And that's important because an unhappy rodent is prone to biting. And biting from a dirty critter can also lead to a new sickness, rabid rodent fever. And suffice to say, your Sims will not feel up to living large when they have this. Researching it on the web or a visit to the vet's office can help them get rid of it, but otherwise it's a fatal disease and causes a mouth-foaming death. And when they're not trying to murder you with rabid nastiness, rodents also get up to some strange activities at night, like holding raves and testing tiny little nuclear devices. They seem to have a bit of a pinky in the brain thing going on, where they're constantly messing around with odd projects and even reaching scientific breakthroughs or ghostwriting best-selling novels. And then sometimes they'll go on vacation for an afternoon, sending you a collectible but ultimately useless postcard as a cheap consolation while they're off frolicking on the beach having the time of their lives. Sounds like an apt analogy for how EA treats Simmers if I've ever heard one. And that's it for The Sims 4 First Pet Stuff. Again, this is $10, and you only get everything you paid for if you've already paid them for cats and dogs in the past, effectively making it a $50 experience to get everything all together. And no, it is not worth buying if you ask me. Even with some cutesy creatures, the overall content itself is straight up lacking in a big way, due to being both shoddily slapped together in a short amount of time and because of how a chunk of potential customers are made to pay for stuff they can't even use without shelling out another $40. And that just bothers me, man. In my eyes, they should have either made all of this content apply to cats and dogs owners only, or only include stuff that can be used by everyone. This mixing of the two without any regard for what you've bought before comes across as cynical to me, like they're trying to see how far they can push players by teasing them with content piece by piece. And you know, I can see some of where EA is coming from, since Cats and Dogs is currently the best-selling Sims 4 expansion to date. They're a massive publisher, they answer to shareholders, and it only makes sense for them to try and make money like this. However, it disappoints me that the manner in which they go about making their money here is not more friendly to the folks that are handing over that money in the first place. First Pet Stuff comes off as a slap to the face for cats and dogs owners, with it appearing to be cut content that should have probably been in the pack to begin with, followed by another slap to the people that haven't bought cats and dogs and still want hamsters. And sure, maybe it is a one-time experiment by EA to see what Simmers are willing to pay for. That's within their right to do, but I don't know about you, I don't care to be experimented on, and I feel stupid having even bought this pack to review it. In fact, that reminds me, I saw this idea on a post the other day about sending your $10 to a local animal shelter to help support someone's actual first pet instead of getting this pack, and yeah, I agree. So I'm donating to the Brother Wolf Animal Rescue, a local no-kill animal shelter, and giving them $50, which is the total cost of both cats and dogs and First Pet Stuff. I have no doubt it'll do more good for them than it ever would being given to EA. And that's all for this particular video and this particular pack. Yeah, I'm salty, but this pack is stupid, what can I say? But if you like salt, then great. Perhaps you'd like to see some of my other videos, and there are new ones every Monday and Friday here on LGR. And as always, thank you very much for watching.